Time now for the St. Johnsbury Chrysler Dodge Jeep Rams Outdoor Edge on YKR Country.
That's right. It is time now for the St. Johnsbury Chrysler Dodge Jeep Rams Outdoor Edge right here on WYKR, your country, serving Northeast Vermont and Northwest New Hampshire. I'm Josh, and we've got a great spring lineup for you today. Gary Moore sits down with Jud Kratzer, Fisheries Biologist based in St. Johnsbury, to talk about managing Northeast Kingdom waters from Brook Trout to northern pike, along with habitat work and what anglers are seeing this time of year. And also, we always have some sort of report. We had the hunting report, then we had the snowmobile report, then we had the sugaring report. So right now we're bringing back our spring backyard report, and we head out with Bill Dickey from Dick's Field and Tree to talk about getting your yard and property ready for the season ahead. And as always, before we wrap up, we'll check in with Mark Breen at the Fairbanks Museum for the Outdoor Edge forecast. It's chock-a-block full hour right now, and we're just going to get right into it, folks. Here we go.
Ready? Mm-hmm. Good evening. Welcome to Thoughts on the Outdoors. This being spring, we're going to be talking about fishing and the fisheries in the Northeast Kingdom. My guest tonight is Jud Kratzer. He is a fisheries biologist for Vermont Fish and Wildlife. Welcome, Jud.
Yep. Well, thanks for having me, Gary. Glad to be here.
Could you start off by telling us a little bit about your background?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I've been in this position since 2006 and really have enjoyed working here. I work out of the St. Johnsbury office, but before I came here, I was in Michigan. I was at Michigan State University, and I was studying fisheries biology there, working with lake whitefish in the Great Lakes. And,
with whitefish?
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
yep. And I got my PhD there. Before that, I was at Penn State University. I got my master's degree working on fisheries science there. I was studying bass and stock trout there.
Oh.
And when I got done with my master's degree, I would have liked to have had a job like this right away, but there was nothing available, so I decided to stay in school. And I don't need that PhD to do the work I'm doing, but
doesn't hurt either.
It's what gave me the leg up to get this job.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Were you an avid fisherman?
Yeah, that was probably a big reason why I ended up going into this career path. When I was young, I always enjoyed playing in streams, catching crayfish, building little rock dams, and fishing when I had the chance.
Sure.
And I was given the advice to try to find a job in something I was passionate about, and I was more passionate about fishing than anything else, so that's why I went down this path. And I'm very thankful to be able to end up getting a career in it, because there's a lot of people that enjoy hunting and fishing, but there's really not jobs for all those people that enjoy that stuff. So I'm very blessed to have this job.
Well, we're glad to have you here in Vermont.
Mm-hmm.
I believe you share the duties for the St. J District Office with another biologist?
Yes, Pete Emerson is the other fisheries biologist in the St. Johnsbury office.
Mm-hmm. Could you tell us a little bit about what the St. J office covers? I believe it's the Northeast Kingdom. Mm-hmm. Does it cover part of Orange County, where we are now?
Yes. So for the Fish and Wildlife Department, we have the state broken into 5 districts, and the fish and wildlife districts are pretty similar, not exact, but the fisheries districts are divided by watersheds, and the District 5, which would be the St. Johnsbury District, the southernmost watershed is the Wells River, which is right where we are now. And then that goes we go up to the Canadian border, and we have everything that goes into the Connecticut River from here up to Canada. And then we have the Lake Memphremagog watershed, and then the upper part of the Lamoille watershed down to Morrisville.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Now, how about the Missisquoi on the other side of Jay Peak?
Now, the Missisquoi River used to be part of District 5, but that has I don't know
Okay.
how many years ago, but
Okay.
that's part of District
So
4.
you're not over in Montgomery or Richford, that area?
No.
Okay. Well, good. But it's pretty big territory.
Mm.
A lot of, well known for a lot of good fishing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I know that they pretty much stopped jumping now, but a big thing that attracts a lot of people here in April is in fact the falls at Willoughby. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's a really exciting event. It's something that I probably hear more questions from the public than just about anything else, especially in the spring, because people are wanting to know when the fish are jumping. And they kind of have to ask because it really occurs very quickly. The water temperature and the flows have to be just right, and that usually only lasts a few days, maybe a week at most, but it's a really brief window, and nobody can really predict it exactly. Some of the anglers, the really veteran anglers, have a good sense for how to predict it, and I can kind of guess and advise people, but really the people that get to see it are the ones that either are there a lot and they just keep coming until they hit it on the right day, or they just get lucky.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been there, I don't know how many times, and only seen them a few times. I also been there when they turn on and off. They could be jumping now, and I call you to come up, and 2 hours later they're not jumping.
Yeah.
But-
Right. Yep.
Tell us a little about the fish. They're headed upstream. Where are they coming from? Where are they going?
Yeah, so these are, we call them steelhead, but you could also call them rainbow trout. It's the same
Right. species.
But steelhead are really, they're from the West Coast, and their ancestors are fish that basically they were rainbow trout that act like salmon. So the adults were out in the Pacific Ocean, and they come up into the rivers to spawn, and the eggs hatch there, and the juveniles will stay in the river for maybe a year or two, and then they'll head out west. They go out into the ocean, get big, and then come back and spawn. Right. In the early 1900s, steelhead were introduced into the Lake Memphremagog watershed, and because at that time, the late 1800s, early 1900s, fisheries management, which I'd put in quotes, was basically to stock every fish species everywhere and
hope for the best.
Right. So that's why we have steelhead here. They put them in, and they survived, and they took, and they established a population where instead of going out to the ocean, Lake Memphremagog is their ocean, and then they come into the rivers on the Vermont side to spawn. And they've been doing that. There's been a naturally reproducing population ever since they introduced them in the early 1900s. They're still coming up. They're still spawning. There's still juveniles in the rivers. And even though they're not native, it's a very, people love them. It's a great fishing opportunity. If they weren't there might not be anything else that people would fish for. Maybe there'd be some brook trout, but those rivers tend to get a little bit too warm for brook trout. So it provides a good fishing opportunity. And
it's not just the river that's coming up to the falls. There are two other tributaries out of Magog that they come up?
Yeah, so a big one, they come up the Barton River, and then a tributary to the Barton River is the Willoughby River. So that's the most famous one. That's where the falls are, where people go to watch them. And that's where most of the fishing effort occurs. And fish go past those falls, and then they spawn up above the falls, and then they come back out. And in May, in my opinion, May is the better time to be fishing because the water's warm, especially once the fish get done spawning, they are hungry.
Yeah.
And if they're still in the river, they usually spend a little bit of time in the river when they're done spawning, and that's when they're more likely to be eating.
Because when they're spawning, they're not eating.
Right.
And when my understanding is at least that generally when you're fishing for them when they're spawning, you're using imitation salmon eggs, which they're not really feeding on. They're trying to move or recover. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah, so if you want to get them on the way up through or when they're spawning, it's more challenging because you're basically trying to force feed them. But when you get into May, mid-May, when they're done spawning, that's when the less talented anglers like myself can go get them because they actually want to eat. So I don't have to work so hard.
Well, unfortunately, those who are listening, they either saw them this year or they're not going to. They're going to have to wait another 11 months. But I think that's a good place for us to take a break.
It's a St. Johnsbury Chrysler Dodge Jeep Rams Outdoor Edge on YKR Country.
The Autosaver Group's St. Johnsbury Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram asks, do your outdoor adventures take you to where you wish you had a four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive? At St. Johnsbury Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram, explore their vast inventory of adventure-savvy four-wheel drives and all-wheel drive vehicles ready for you to drive at home. Plus, every St. Johnsbury Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram deal includes the Big Deal Plus, which is a 2-year unlimited scheduled maintenance plan, which includes free state inspections for life. Stop in today in St. Johnsbury, Vermont, or shop St. Johnsbury Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram online at stjohnsburycdjr.com.
At R&L Archery, we know it's not just about the thrill of the hunt or the size of the fish. It's about the moments that matter most, the traditions passed down from one generation to the next, and the stories told by the fire long after the sun is set. It's about the journey, the memories, and the time spent together with friends and family, because these are the moments that truly last a lifetime. R&L Archery, where every adventure begins. Come create your story.
Every business story starts small. As you share your story, it creates movement, and movement builds momentum. Your social media and website are the conduits for that story. It's about more than clicks and views. It's about creating connection, community, and opportunity to do business. It's time to tell your story. Go to northeastkingdomonline.com. Our local Vermont team can help you get more from your online media. Once again, that's northeastkingdomonline.com.
Miles Supply, your stop for all your general business products, paper towels, toilet paper, first aid kits, and more. Purchase your paper and soap products from Miles, and they'll install the dispensers for free. Do you own a salon, restaurant, coffee shop, or gym making a monthly run to the big box store for your business supplies? Save time with Miles Supply. Call today for a sales visit, 476-3963, or walk directly into their showroom, 143 Boynton Street next to Spalding High School. Miles Supply, family-owned and building relationships since 1954.
Welcome back to Thoughts on the Outdoors. With me tonight is Jud Kratzer, a fisheries biologist for Vermont Fish and Wildlife, responsible for much of the area that this radio station covers, definitely the Northeast Kingdom and some parts beyond. We were talking about the fishery. We started talking about the fish jumping the Willoughby Falls, but of course that pretty much ended the end of April. But I'm going to turn now to the Lake Memphremagog watershed, of which obviously these fish are coming from. Jud, big lake, only a small part of it in Vermont. You want to tell us how that's managed?
Yeah, Lake Memphremagog is very interesting. We could talk about that for a long time. Maybe just to start out with kind of my view of it from a historical fisheries perspective. If you look way back, you can see these old black and white pictures of people fishing off of the Causeway Bridge there. These guys lined up shoulder to shoulder, and they were fishing for salmon off of that bridge. And those salmon were coming into the Clyde River. And those pictures, I think they're all usually in the spring.
Yes.
The salmon were coming in the spring on a feeding run. And it seems like they were probably chasing bait, whether it was the eastern silvery minnows or the emerald shiners. I don't know, maybe smelt were coming through back in those days. And we still today, there's still salmon there. But there's been a lot of changes that have happened in between. So we had those old days back in the 30s and 40s where you have all those black and white pictures. And from there, though, the salmon really declined. for a variety of reasons. It probably was related to the hydropower operations on the Clyde River mostly, but there probably could have been other things. So salmon went down in the 30s and 40s and seemed to be replaced in some ways by walleye. So there, after the salmon, there were these decades of these big walleye runs that lasted from the 50s into, it seems, the 80s. And then the walleye started declining. Again, that seemed to be related to hydropower operations. At the same time, Vermont Fish and Wildlife Department was making some major improvements in their rearing of salmon and stocking consistently sized salmon smolts in the Clyde River. And so somewhere in the 90s, then the salmon started to come back. While the walleyes were declining, the salmon were coming back. There could be some cause and effect related there as well. You know,
Competition between the species.
Right, or walleyes eating the salmon.
Right.
So there was that. So the salmon have been fairly strong ever since. And but in recent years, you know, in the past, I think the most popular time to fish for salmon on the Clyde River was the spring when they were coming in to eat. Again, it's easier to catch fish when they actually come in and they're eating. And there was still some fish coming in the fall, and people would fish for that. In recent years, it's kind of switched to where seems like more of the fishing effort and certainly more of the fish are being caught in the fall during their spawning run. And what's going on in the spring? Well, we don't know for certain, but one theory is, and I think it's a good theory, that the food that they used to chase into the river isn't there like it used to be. So, for example, I mentioned those minnow species, but also suckers. There used to be these really large runs of white suckers that would come in to spawn, and predator fish like salmon, they don't come in and eat the suckers, they are coming in to eat the eggs.
Right.
And some of the, again, more experienced anglers are noting that there's not nearly as many suckers coming in as there used to be. Quebec, in their gill net samples north of the border, have found a significant decline in the amount of white suckers that they're seeing in the lake. So there seems to be something to that. Also, I've heard that people are seeing fewer of those minnows coming in compared to the past. So it seems like there's less food coming in that's drawing the salmon in. And why is there less food? Well, there's been some major changes other than what I've already talked about that have happened. For example, there's a lot of lake trout in Lake Memphremagog now, which is kind of a new thing since the 80s and 90s. Quebec started stocking them in the 80s, I believe. And lake trout are slow-growing, long-lived. It takes them a long time to build up a population. We now have a pretty large population of lake trout in the lake, which would eat things like the white suckers and some of those other forage. We also have white perch that have been there for about 10 or 15 years, and they are likely eating maybe the sucker fry. They're also eating those minnow species. So there's been some significant changes.
Where do you think the white perch came from? From bait?
That's a good question. So Parker Lake in Glover has had white perch in it since about 1980, at least 1980.
Okay.
And they were most likely introduced by someone at that time. And we always expected, eventually we'll see them in Lake Memphremagog, because Parker Lake
eventually ends up in Lake Memphremagog.
Yep, and decades went by and we never saw them. And then all of a sudden, I think it was around 2011 or so, we first started getting reports and first started seeing white perch in Memphremagog. Did they finally come down out of Parker Lake, or did somebody introduce them? We don't know.
Yeah. Huh. Now, Vermont side of the lake, especially South Bay, is the more shallow. When the temperature warms up, the fishermen tend to head up the lake as best they. I know a lot of them buy licenses in Quebec, both. How closely does Vermont coordinate with Quebec on the lake?
We've been working very closely with them in recent years. it wasn't that long ago, Quebec had very liberal bag limits on their salmonid species. They had, you could harvest 3 salmon and I think 1 lake trout, but you could harvest 10 rainbow trout and 10 brown trout and 10 brook trout. It was a lot of trout and salmon that they were allowing you to harvest. And in particular for us, we're concerned about the salmon. Of course, they were allowing you to harvest 3. We were allowing the harvest of 2, but also the rainbow trout, because we only allow the harvest of 2 on our side.
Mm-hmm.
And in reality, most of them aren't harvested at all. Most people are catching and releasing. But north of the border, they could keep 10. So that was a big concern. Also, they're trying to restore lake trout. So we were allowing the harvest of 2. They only allowed the harvest of 1. So over the last 5 to 10 years, we've really been working closely with them. They've brought their regulations in line with ours. We finally made a change on a lake trout that went into effect this year in 2026, so that now our lake trout regulations match theirs. So you can only keep 1 lake trout, and it has to be at least 24 inches long on Lake Memphremagog.
Okay.
So that matches on both. All the rules match on both sides of the border now.
Oh, good.
And we've also coordinated on stocking. So they've been stocking lake trout. The province has been stocking lake trout. The state of Vermont has been stocking salmon and steelhead. Some clubs in Quebec have also been stocking some rainbow and brown trout. But there's only so many predators that a lake can support,
Right.
because they need food.
Right.
So we've been meeting with them, and we've come to kind of an agreement of this is the maximum that we're going to stock, and we're going to continue to communicate on this, and if we need to adjust things, we will. But we're working together instead of just
Good.
both doing our own thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's face it. The fish don't recognize the Canadian border.
Yeah.
COVID didn't stop them from crossing, and neither did the political climate or the terrorists we're seeing now. So we have to work together. I'm just glad to hear that you really are, because I know that hasn't always been the case.
Yeah.
Jud, I know you people are constantly doing research and projects and so forth. What are you working on now?
Well, the project that I'm most excited about is something really I've been working on since 2009, really, and it's related to brook trout habitat improvement. And the method we're using is we call strategic wood addition. And so what we do is we go out and we drop trees into streams for the benefits that they provide
Right.
for fish and for river functions. Most people that fish brook trout streams know that one of the best places to catch them is where there's a log that's going to cross, create a plunge pool, or there's the cover that it provides. And so we're going out and recreating those kind of situations. And the reason we're doing it is because a lot of our rivers and streams don't have as much wood in them as they used to.
Right.
I like to encourage people to think about what would our rivers and streams would have looked like before Europeans were here. And the rivers and streams would have been flowing through these forests that had these big trees, because nobody was harvesting them
Right.
for timber. But trees don't live forever, and so they're gonna die and fall over. Some of them fall on the forest floor, but a lot of them fell in the rivers, and nobody pulled them out.
Right.
So there was also more beaver activity back then too. But since then we came along, we've clear cut the forest multiple times, and we've pulled the wood out of the rivers.
And the rocks during the log drives,
right.
they did a lot of blasting of ledge and rock. Yeah.
Right. So eventually things would come back, but it's a long time before we have old growth forests again, and we're so used to seeing our rivers and streams without wood in them that a lot of people think that it's natural for the rivers and streams not to have wood. So the main reason we're doing it, yes, we're doing it for the immediate benefits to fish habitat and river function, but really the main reason we're doing it is to communicate to people the importance of our streamside forests. We want to protect those, and when the trees fall in, we want them there. We want them to stay there. Don't pull them out. And so that's been very exciting. We know from the work that we've been doing, within the first 4 years after we add wood to the stream, the amount of brook trout in that area triples on average. And then after about 10 years, it's still about double what it was before. So
Now, did Trout Unlimited help you with that?
yes, yeah, Trout Unlimited was a key partner. We never would have started it without them.
And didn't some of the trips to the Connecticut, didn't the Connecticut River Watershed Council or now Connecticut River Conservancy, weren't they involved in some of that too?
Most of our work has been up in Essex County, and the Connecticut River Conservancy hasn't been directly involved with those. They do have some wood addition and other habitat projects that they're doing in other
I know
parks.
they've been working in the Conte Refuge up there some, with some culvert replacements and that sort of stuff.
Yes, yep, there's culvert replacement too, yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, people think it needs to be neat. As you said, I mean, your colleagues in forestry and wildlife like to say that a messy forest is a good forest.
Yep, mess is best.
Right, exactly. Any other projects that you people are working on in the St. J district?
Oh, there's always projects going on. A lot of what we'll be doing this summer is just some sampling of some streams that really haven't been sampled for a long time.
Just electrofishing?
Yeah, stream electrofishing to just get an update of what the trout populations are looking like in those streams.
Are you doing any netting in any of the lakes?
We will be doing some netting. In particular, we are working on a project where we're trying to get natural reproduction of brook trout reestablished in Notch Pond and Unknown Pond, both of which are on the West Mountain WMA.
Right.
And so we're going to set some gill nets and see how that project is coming along.
Good. You know, I mean, people think, fishermen at least, I think of the Northeast Kingdom as trout water. I mean, you have more good trout fishing, whether it's stream or lake or pond, than most parts of the state. And that's where we go to fish. Talking about going to fish, you have some suggestions for our listeners? This is the first week of May. Waters are warming up.
Yeah, I've got lots of suggestions. I think one of the first ones that comes to my mind, because I work in the St. Johnsbury office, I live right in St. Johnsbury, is the Passumpsic River. It's all the trout in that river are stocked. There's a few wild ones, but it's really kind of the perfect river to stock because it doesn't have much for wild fish. It just doesn't support them, probably because they just aren't successfully spawning in there. But it holds trout really well. So we stock a lot of yearling trout in the spring, so those are 8 to 10 inches when they go in. And those fish hold really well through the summer. And then we also stock 2-year-old fish right in St. Johnsbury, basically right in town. And those could be anywhere from 13 to 19 inches when they go in. And those fish hold really well and provide it's just a lot of fun fishing right there. Personally, I don't even fish the Passumpsic usually till like late August.
Oh, is that right?
I'm just kind of busy with work and other things, and then I let everybody else have a shot at all those fish, and then when I go there, there's nobody else fishing, and the fish are still there because they hold through the summer. I do well through September and October, but yeah, right now in May is a great time to go there.
Well, one thing about the Passumpsic and the lower reaches of the moose is very accessible. I mean, people don't have to hike back up the mountain to fish. I mean, it's road networks right close.
Yes.
So people can quickly go after work or whatever.
Yeah.
But I've heard good things about the Passumpsic for a long time. So yeah.
Yeah, and there's many places you can just easily access from the road. There's several dams along the Passumpsic, and below those dams, it's good fishing below all those dams.
Sure. Other places you'd suggest we might try?
Well, so the other end of the spectrum, so the Passumpsic is the stock trout, easily accessible. The other end of the spectrum, I really enjoy fishing brook trout streams out in the woods, and those are everywhere in the Northeast Kingdom. But
just get a half mile from the road and you won't be bothered by anybody.
Right. I especially enjoy the Nullhegan branches, like the East Branch, the Black Branch, the North Branch. On all of those, you kind of have to get up above the bogs or the lower areas because it's warm down low, but you have to get higher up on them. But I guess I kind of like those because there's a lot of small brook trout streams out there. They're everywhere, but these are what I'd call a little more intermediate size. So they're a little bit bigger stream. It just gives you a different feel. And I think because they're a little bit bigger, they hold a little bit bigger brook trout as well.
Yeah, as regular listeners to this program or readers of my column know, that's what I prefer. I like the mountain streams, get back, not encountering anybody else. But don't catch a lot of big fish, but catch a lot of nice fish. It's a great experience. Yeah.
Yeah, the others, there's a lot of lakes and ponds in the Northeast Kingdom that we stock with trout, and any one of those is going to be good right now because we're stocking it. We've been stocking those April through May. We should be done stocking. We try to get done stocking by the end of the month, and any one of those is going to be good. You can look on our website to find what's been stocked. We typically stock the same places every year. So once you know that we're stocking a place, you can expect it every year. So that's the trout fishing. And then, there's bass and yellow perch in just about every lake and pond around.
And walleye in several bodies,
Yep.
We got a question about Maidstone Lake. Used to be a place well, first of all, Maidstone opened up before anybody else. That's the only, for years, the only place you could ice fish for trout back in the 50s and early 60s. But what I hear is the fishery has changed there. It's not quite what it used to be. Is that just a rumor? Or is that just, I'm hearing that from fishermen who were younger and could move around more?
Well, we hear that for just about every water body for every fish. So sometimes there's more truth to it than others. In the case of Maidstone, I would believe that there's been some changes. Smallmouth bass were introduced there, I don't know, maybe within the last 10 to 15 years. And that will definitely have an effect on a lake like that. The smallmouth bass are known to really affect lake trout because bass are very good predators at minnows and things that are in the shallows. So we don't think about them interacting so much because often we're thinking about summertime. In the summertime, the bass are in the shallows, the lake trout are in the deeper part of the lake, and you think, well, they aren't really interacting. The problem is those bass all summer long are eating all those minnows, all those little fish that are in the shallows.
That the lake trout need to eat.
In the winter, right. So when the water's cold, so fall through spring, those lake trout can go wherever they want, and they can eat those fish if they're there. But the bass are really good predators at those things, and they can clean them out, just about clean them out. So it wouldn't surprise me that bass being introduced, that anglers would be seeing a difference in the lake trout fishing there.
It seems to me that catch and release is becoming far more popular than it ever was. I mean, there was a time when I was growing up, it seemed everybody kept every fish. But I see an awful lot of people releasing fish now. Is that an observation? I mean, do you think that's happening?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, we know that from our statewide angler surveys, and when we go out and do our angler creel surveys, we can look back at past surveys and exactly what you were describing. A very high percentage of fish were harvested in the past, and now most of them are being released.
The question is, do they survive? I know Fish and Wildlife does a pretty good effort at teaching people how to release fish safely, ice fishing. not pulling them up too fast in the deep, cutting the hook if it hit the gills and so forth. But, I mean, you got to be careful how you release a fish. Handle it with wet hands. Don't keep it out very long and so forth. But, it's a conservation effort. I'm glad that's happening.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic right now, though, especially because there's this forward-facing sonar, also called live sonar, which doesn't affect fishing for all species, but certainly things like walleyes and crappies and probably yellow perch to an extent. There's people that are using that to target fish that really they couldn't access before because they were down deep and they didn't even know they were there. Now they spot them, the fish can't hide, they catch them.
And many of those fish tend to be school fish that hang together.
Yes, yep, and they can catch and release way more fish than people would have released in the past. And yeah, there's definitely concerns about how many of those are surviving, especially when you bring them up from down deep.
Sure.
But it's one of those things where it's not something that we really want to regulate at this point. It'd be good if people just catch your fish, don't keep harassing them, and just be wise. If it doesn't look like the fish are going to handle all that catch and release, just leave them alone.
Sure. Okay. Well, our time is about up, Jud. Thank you very much for coming on and talking with us tonight. This is the time of year a lot of us are thinking fishing and fisheries. So I wish all our listeners out there good luck if you're an angler. And if you're not, appreciate the fact that Fish and Wildlife is doing as much as they can to protect the natural resources, and that includes riparian efforts and, as Judd has mentioned, putting woody material in the streams, etc. And not the least to say their stocking program. Vermont Fish and Wildlife has a series of hatcheries, one of them right here in the listing area in Bald Hill. These hatcheries are supplying the fish that are being stocked. So, again, thank you, Jud, for being with us. I'd like to have you back sometime again to talk about fishing.
Yep,
with that, good night all. Good luck fishing.
All right, and that was Gary Moore, where he sat down with Jud Kratzer, who is a fisheries biologist based in St. Johnsbury. And as you heard, they talked about managing Northeast Kingdom waters from Brook Trout to northern pike. And so, and to remind all of our listeners, this episode is also available on demand starting tomorrow. And then tomorrow, on the on-demand episode, has a longer conversation with that Gary Moore has with Jud Kratzer. But anyway, coming up next, we're going to kick off our new spring backyard report, and that's going to be with Billy Dickey from Dick's Field and Tree. So he's going to talk about how to get your yard ready for the season ahead. That's coming up right after these important messages.
It's a St. Johnsbury Chrysler Dodge Jeep Rams Outdoor Edge on YKR Country.
You've picked the paint colors, maybe even sketched a layout on the back of an envelope, or made the playlist for your grand opening. But without a design, it's just a dream. Riverside Design Works in Bradford makes those dreams real for families and small businesses across the Upper Valley. Affordable, functional, and community-focused, we build for your needs and within your budget. But heads up, the 2026 construction season is booking fast. If you want shovels in the ground next year, you need plans today. Keep it simple. Riverside Design Works. Smart choices, reliable results.
Spring is here. Oh, what a delight. Bachelor Carpentry will build it just right. A deck for the stars or a porch for the sun, we craft perfect spaces for everyone. So cheer and chuckle, let's start the fun. Visit vtcarpenter.com. Our work's never done. Spring projects are here. Let's give them a run.
It's the St. Johnsbury Chrysler Dodge Jeep Rams Outdoor Edge on YKR Country.
The Autosaver Group's St. Johnsbury Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram asks, do your outdoor adventures take you to where you wish you had a four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive? At St. Johnsbury Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram, explore their vast inventory of adventure-savvy four-wheel drives and all-wheel drive vehicles ready for you to drive at home. Plus, every St. Johnsbury Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram deal includes the Big Deal Plus, which is a 2-year unlimited scheduled maintenance plan, which includes free state inspections for life. Stop in today in St. Johnsbury, Vermont, or shop St. Johnsbury Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram online at stjohnsburycdjr.com.
At R&L Archery, we know it's not just about the thrill of the hunt or the size of the fish. It's about the moments that matter most, the traditions passed down from one generation to the next, and the stories told by the fire long after the sun is set. It's about the journey, the memories, and the time spent together with friends and family, because these are the moments that truly last a lifetime. R&L Archery, where every adventure begins. Come create your story.
Joining me in the studio today is Billy Dickey from Dick's Field and Tree and technically Rygate. We're talking spring cleanup and what homeowners should be doing right now to get their backyards ready for the warmer months. Billy, it's good to have you here.
Well, thank you. I appreciate being invited in. Look to see a lot of people this summer and help people with their driveways, maybe do some garden installs. Some tree branches that are bothering you, maybe a tree's bothering you.
Right.
Let's get after it.
I mean, because you're busy all year round.
I am. In the wintertime, I'm plowing, maybe odds and ends trees. That's a good time because the ground's frozen, and when you cut a tree down, it's not going to hurt the ground.
Right.
We can pick it all up with the tractor or the skid steer or the excavator, whatever we're using. And you get very little mess that way come springtime.
Right. And that's what we want to talk about a little bit about springtime here on our backyard report is so when you're pulling into someone's yard for around this time in the year, what's the first thing you kind of look out for after a long winter?
After a long winter, I'm looking around at, what's fallen down. What does their yard look like? Has it dried up yet? Is it firmed up yet? Or is it still frozen? If it's still frozen, great. We can get out there. We can do some work. How's their driveway looking? Is it got a lot of potholes? Do we want to think about adding some material to that, maybe resurfacing it, maybe re-scratching it, and then repacking it? All kinds of things.
Okay. So like for homeowners that are listening right now, what are like the top 2 or 3 things they should really be doing in their backyard right now in the spring?
Ooh, let's get the all the dead branches picked up.
Okay.
And let's see what's going on.
Yeah. And what kind of damage do you usually see from winter that people might not notice right away?
Well, everybody always sees the big tree that gets blown over, but very few people might see the branch that broke and then is hanging halfway up, the old widowmaker.
Yes.
Nobody thinks to, oh, look at that. That's going to hurt someday. What can we do to get that thing taken care of?
Right. But so when it comes to lawns or larger fields, what's the right way to get them going again without causing problems later in the summer then?
So let's look at this as, what do you want to do with your field? Do you want your field to just be mowed and clean and keep it looking nice? Do you want your field to grow up the cotton weed there where the butterflies come in? A lot of people love the monarch butterflies.
Oh, the milkweed.
The milkweed, thank you.
Yeah.
Yep. Or do you want to make it back into a hay field? Do you want to seed it? Do you want to make a food plot for deer? These are things, you want to ask these questions first.
Right.
What does the homeowner want to do?
Right.
What do they want to see?
Okay.
And then we go from there on how we attack that.
And we're kind of mentioning like the fields and grasses, but a lot of folks don't think about it. But how important is it to take care of the driveway and access roads in the springtime?
So the springtime with driveways, you want to wait till it dries up.
Right.
But on that other note, what if it's a super muddy season and it's rutted up real bad? Let's bring in some gravel and just drop it in, push it in, just plain rock. We get that right local here in Wells River. Right. In Rygate, drop that in, pack it in, firm it up, and then once it dries up, we can grade that. I have a special tool that goes on my tractor. I can smooth it back over. I can rip it up. Maybe if there's any little potholes that they want to get taken care of, and then bring in some new stay mat and repack it down. Stay mat or ledge pack or granite quarry, they call it plant mix. All these things, you get it up on top and it helps dry the driveway, keeps the driveway dry. You won't get a muddy mess, the rest of the summer.
Right.
Great stuff.
And so what are some things homeowners can handle themselves, and when is it time to call Billy Dickey?
A lot of times, these little potholes that are small, the homeowner can go get some material with a 5-gallon bucket or a couple wheelbarrow loads, and they can do that themselves.
Right.
But when you start coming into a long driveway or a driveway with a really deep rut, you want to dig that one up. You want to dig down. You want to re-smooth it over and start from scratch.
Right. What's one mistake you see people making every spring that ends up costing them more time and money later on?
Oh, I can do it, Steve. I can handle this. I can do it. I can do it. And then I get a phone call later on in the fall. Yeah, probably should have called you a little sooner. I thought I could do it, but I just don't have the equipment. And that's what a lot of people seem to forget is sometimes you have to have this larger equipment.
Right. So if someone wants their place, looking good and functioning well all summer, what's your best advice? Besides calling you.
Yeah, give me a holler.
Yeah.
Or if you have questions, you want some advice, don't be afraid to reach out to me. Give me a holler, and we can discuss, what it is you have independent. Everybody's different.
Right.
Everybody's got different needs.
Well, they always say, doctors are the worst patients, so I'm kind of curious, Billy, when you're not working, what's your own backyard look like this time of year?
I live up in North Reigate on the Groton Peacham Road, where I'm about a week or two behind everybody. And my muddy spot is finally drying up, and I'm actually prepping my fields now. I do grow hay on those.
Okay.
And my wife has got some animals. They're her pets, but realistically, they're beef.
So we're talking to Billy Dickey from Dick's Field and Tree. So if people want to learn more about your work and your business, how can they get a hold of you?
Reach out to me on either Facebook or I got a cell phone. It's 802-359-2478. Send me a message.
Okay.
That is the best way.
Yeah.
A message or even my emails.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's info at Dick's Field and Tree.
Yeah.
Info at dicksfieldandtree.com.
Yep.
Right? Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
I think you're right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, Billy.
Well, I appreciate your time, Josh, and I thank you for having me on. This has been a real pleasure.
All right. And that was a conversation that I had with Billy Dickey from Dick's Field and Tree. And coming up next, we're going to check in with Mark Breen from the Fairbanks Museum for your outdoor edge forecast, so you know what to expect heading outside. And it is spring, and we'll see if Mark Breen has some good news for us. That's coming up right after these important messages.
It's a St. Johnsbury Chrysler Dodge Jeep Rams Outdoor Edge on YKR Country.
When spring finally gets here, folks around here don't waste much time getting back outdoors. From fishing tackle and turkey season supplies to the basics that make a day outside go smoother, CCR Sports in St. Johnsbury is ready to help. They know what local outdoor folks need this time of year, and they're happy to help them get ready. Visit ccrsports.net today. CCR Sports has something for all seasons and all ages. And in the North Country, you need both covered.
Mark Breen. Welcome to the Outdoor Edge forecast. We finally made it to May, and yet we're still dealing with some back and forth weather. Temperatures just this past week jumping up to 80 degrees on Tuesday, and yet much cooler air coming in following some soaking rains on Wednesday. As we go through the upcoming weekend, we still have some issues in terms of outdoor plans. It does look like there'll be some showers, especially from about Route 302 southward during Saturday. So if you do have some outdoor plans, one, it may depend on your location. The farther north you go, the fewer showers you're going to encounter. At the same time, this time of year in particular, we get clouds and showers, and it definitely keeps things on the cool side without the input of the sun. At the same time, there will be a weak system coming in on Sunday. I think there'll be some scattered hit or miss showers, but if you've got some plans, I think of the 2 days, Sunday right now is looking like the better of the 2 days. And along with that, temperatures should be a bit warmer on Sunday, heading to between 60 and 65. A lot of plans this year, kind of in between, but also in preparation for, things that will be coming up. So we're just going, for example, with the gardening season, and we've got some hiking to do. Just a quick reminder in terms of hiking, stay off any muddy trails. This time of year, as things thaw out and we've got some of the spring rains and so forth, some of the trails can get rather muddy. By walking on those muddy trails, it increases erosion. It also compacts the soil and damages some of the plant roots. So as long as the path is relatively dry, then you're fine. The other issue is going around some of the puddles and so forth. that also can damage some of the nearby vegetation. So just a quick reminder, we're getting close to, the warmer, drier season. You'll just have to maybe be patient a little bit. In terms of water levels have been fluctuating up and down. The water itself, though, is very cold, so keep that in mind as well. This time of year, hypothermia, very easy to come by, so you'll want to kind of take it slow in terms of doing any water activities. With all of those things in mind, let's take a look at the forecast details. It is going to be a clear and chilly night, dropping down to near 32. That means some scattered frost, but that's typical this time of year. That'll burn off, and we'll see partly sunny skies tomorrow. There could be a stray shower, mainly across the hills, and temperatures still on the cool side, low to mid-50s. For Friday night, another clear, chilly night, dropping down into the low 30s, some scattered areas of frost. And then we get to Saturday, the clouds will be coming in, and along with that, the possibility of some showers, especially from Route 302 southward, scattered to the north. And because of the clouds and so forth, temperatures in the 50s. But we get to Sunday, I do think we're going to see partly sunny skies and just a few localized afternoon showers. Sunday, a much nicer day, temperatures climbing into the low 60s. We still have some cool weather much of next week, with daytimes mostly in the 50s. That's your Outdoor Edge forecast. I'm Fairbanks Museum meteorologist Mark Breen. Good luck and enjoy the great outdoors.
So that about wraps it up here at the Outdoor Edge. And we want to thank everybody for the St. Johnsbury Chrysler Dodge Jeep Rams Outdoor Edge. A big thanks to Gary Moore and our guest Jud Kratzer for sharing insights into fisheries that make the Northeast Kingdom such a special place to get out on the water. And thank you to Billy Dickey from Dick's Field and Tree for helping us kick off the Spring Backyard Report. Plenty of good advice as we head into the summer months. And as always, appreciation to Mark Breen from the Fairbanks Museum for keeping us dialed in on the weather. And remember, if you've missed any part of today's show, you can catch this episode and all of our past episodes anytime at WYKR.com or on the WYKR app if you haven't downloaded it, or wherever you get your podcasts. WYKR, we are podcasting now, so this is exciting. And also, don't forget, tomorrow morning is Stephen John and Friends. It's one of the longest running Friday morning shows around. And it starts from 6 a.m. all the way to 9 a.m. And that show is also available on demand on our YouTube page shortly after its production, so it'll be later that day. I highly recommend to everybody to get outside, enjoy the season, and remember, we're always on the first and third Thursdays of every month. Thank you so much, folks, and enjoy the outdoors.